listening to Sports on Tap, part of the NEO Sports Insiders Network. Here are your hosts, Rob Troutman, Josh Jeffy, Ed Dick, and Sean Duffy.
And welcome to Sports on Tap. I'm your host, Rob Troutman. We have Josh Jeffy and Ed Dick here live from Z's Cream and Bean in Hinckley, Ohio. Sean Duffy is on assignment. He's cheering on the Cleveland Indians tonight. So hopefully he'll bring home a winner. We know
right, he is.
What Sean's about.
That's right, he is.
It's funny how
Don't let him fool you. Do not let him fool you.
I know, and it's funny how he knew all the stats and everything of the Indians today. We were going back and forth talking earlier today, and Sean just happened to know statistics, the Indians' win percentage, batting averages to the team. I mean, it's pretty impressive, really.
He'll claim that he is just a baseball fan, per se, but I think we've seen evidence that suggests otherwise.
I would agree with that.
Well, like I told him when we were texting, I said, you know, a typical Tigers fan, he's going to an Indians game, but he's going to the game before, you know, his team is playing the Indians.
Yeah, go figure.
That doesn't make much sense.
No, but it
doesn't add up.
His wife wants to go, not him.
Oh,
you know how that is.
Classic move, blaming it on the wife.
That's right. Well, we have a great show for you tonight. We're going to talk a little Cavaliers basketball later on in the show, and we'll have our first guest come here in a little bit, and he's the head coach of the Berea-Midpark Titans football team. Jon Hunek will join us, and we'll talk about his first season as head coach at Berea-Midpark in the tough Southwestern Conference. That's just a brutal conference. 9 conference games, only 1 non-conference. 3-7 in his first year, and we'll talk a little bit about the differences. You know, going from assistant to head coach is a little bit different, but it's tough too when they lost a lot of starters last year that had big contributions on the team. So we'll have a chance to talk to him coming up.
For those of you who listen to our show, especially in the fall when we do our high school football coverage. You know that Rob takes care of the Southwestern Conference, as he said. It's a 10-team league, 9 games in conference, and we'll talk about this more as we get closer to the high school football season. But just to give you an idea of what Berea-Midpark had to go up against this year, and Coach Hunek will not use this as an excuse. He's been around the block quite a while with a couple state championship teams. He's been to the state championship with Maple Heights back in 2009. In addition to his state championships with St. Ed's, the Southwestern Conference had 5 playoff teams last year. So that's half your league that's qualifying for the next round. And when you're going into that type of a meat grinder week in and week out, there are no such thing as an easy game in that conference at all.
Yeah, I would agree.
And you look at some of the teams in that conference. I mean, Lakewood went 0-10. North Olmsted went 2-8. But at any given time, those teams can rise up and surprise a team, and those teams can put up some points. And there's no easy game in the Southwestern Conference slate. And I know Coach Hunek will touch on that here in a little bit. But just to kind of give everyone out here a little preview and just a little bit of background as to what Coach Hunek had to go up against and what he's preparing for this year in his second year as head coach.
Well, we witnessed that. We covered Berea-Midpark Week 3, and it escapes me who they played. Do you remember who they played?
I think it was North Ridgeville.
Yeah, it was Ridgeville. Yeah, you're exactly right, and that was a back-and-forth game. Very defensive effort in the first half, and then the offensive kind of exploded in the second half, and it was back, and it came down to the wire. I remember how excited Coach was. It was good to be there to witness that, and how the team just rallied around everyone. So he has the makings. He knows what a good program is, being with Maple Heights and
St. Ed's.
St. Ed's, and then going to Massillon for a year. So he knows the genesis of a good program. Now it's on him now to turn that around in Berea-Midpark. And with Berea-Midpark, with the all the schools, Midpark and then Berea coming together, there is no shortage of talent. Now they just have to develop it into their system.
Well, I was going to say, too, this is a team that probably had a little bit different of a system the year before with Ray Raddick as head coach, and now they're going over to Jon Hunek's system. So there is a learning curve there. Trevor Bazinski, I believe, was their quarterback last year, a sophomore, and a really smart, intelligent kid, has a great arm, really tall, and he was learning a new system, but impressive. But he went through some bumps in the road where he made some mistakes, and as a sophomore, I'm sure he got down a little bit. But Coach Hunek, that Berea-Midpark offense, they scored a lot of points. The defense just gave up a little bit of points too. So I'm interested to see how as he talks a little bit about his first season, what he learned from that first season, especially in a tough conference where you have Avon, head coach Mike Elder. That team is there every year. The Midview Middies are there. Avon Lake had a really good year last year. They bounced back after really struggling. They were a program that was consistently good, and then they had some down years, and now they got back last year. Just a lot of talent there. So you look up and down. North Ridgeville lost some players, but I'm really interested to see up and down, the conference, what he thinks of other teams as well, because it's a stacked conference, and we're 1 month away. In August, it's going to start, with doubles and practice and everything like that. So it's coming up soon, and it's going to be a lot of fun to cover high school football again.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking very forward to it, and and I'll speak a little bit. I'll go a little bit behind the curtain here. I mean, I'm obviously, those of you who don't know, I'm an assistant coach at Brunswick High School, and we do have a returning coach, coaching staff actually. We have Coach Pinzoni, who had coached at Parma Heights Holy Name for 3 years, and then the last 4 years has been at Medina Buckeye, and has taken that program to great. To conference championships, 4 straight playoff appearances, and him and that experienced staff is coming back. Is coming back to Brunswick, and I'm pleased to still be around, and this will be my 15th season coaching.
Holy cow.
Coaching the Kickers. I know, it's unbelievable.
That's crazy.
I can't believe
really.
that.
That's
15
impressive.
Years. It is impressive.
Helping one
wrong.
kicker at a time.
Yeah, it's a building block.
Exactly.
It's a building block. So, I'm very excited for the Brunswick season as well. I'm looking forward to getting back at it with the kids there.
And for your case, Ed, with Coach Manzoni coming back, yes, he is a familiar face, but it's still very much a transition period for the whole program itself.
Absolutely.
Beal was there for 7 years?
7 years, yeah.
And then kind of transitioning over to something new. I mean, he's not the Pinzoni that he was when he coached us. He's got the same principles, but it's going to be different for him too. So it's a big, big transition. And as you are, I am also looking forward to it.
And walking through the door right now is
looking like Stone Cold Steve Austin coming through the door.
Yeah, we need to play music. I know we need to have music go on for his intro. Yeah, that's when we need the music as the Berea-Midpark football coach, Jon Hunek, joins us. Coach,
hey
thanks
guys,
for joining us
tonight.
tonight.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's always great to talk to you.
Yes.
Definitely. Sure.
Strutting your stuff at Z's Cream and Beans. We said we just need music for your intro.
I got my
out
Macho
there.
Man Randy Savage socks on too today.
Oh,
Nice.
Oh yeah, pretty
I just
good.
wore my shirt over
Yeah.
the weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, the
We
cream
might
of the
have
crop.
to get a
There we
picture of
go.
those before the night's out.
I got some good Ric Flair ones too that I wear for practice too. So
Nice.
Hey, to be the man, you got to beat the man.
That's right.
I mean, that's how you got to go about it. That's
No,
perfect.
you got to
That's
wear
perfect.
those showing up in a limo. Limousine ride.
Wow.
Jet
If they had
flying.
the feather boa too on the sidelines, that'd be really good.
Come on, Booster
Sure,
Skin
my
take
80
care of that
would
for you.
love that.
Couple fundraisers for Coach Hunek's limo.
That's right, yeah,
Let's
yeah.
go.
Limo
I like it.
I'll
robe
contribute to
and,
that one.
I think we all will. Those are impressive.
Yeah, thank you.
So how's the summer been going for you?
Oh, really great. We had an awesome off season in the spring, and it's been great in the summer. Kids are really doing a nice job, bearing down, grinding, and it's definitely what we needed, I think, to take our next step with our program and everything like that. So it's been awesome. We had mini camp yesterday and today, so I just got off the field actually and headed over here. So
Well, we
it was really
appreciate
good.
you coming
Oh, thanks for
right
having
from
me. It's fun.
practice. I
Yeah.
mean, it's starting to get busy now, right?
It
I
is.
mean, with July and August getting in to the grind. Talk a little bit, about your first season. Let's go back to your first season a little bit. What was the difference in your first season? You went 3-7.
Yeah.
You have 9 in-conference games in the Southwestern Conference. What did you learn about the Southwestern Conference and your team in that first
Well, I think,
season?
first of all, it's a great conference. I mean, every team is extremely well coached, which I think is really impressive, say, for the conference, by guys that know the game and do a nice job motivating their kids. So, it's a lot of fun to be in that competitive environment. So for me, getting used to the whole conference thing after coaching two back-to-back teams that are independent really was an interesting change, but a lot of fun. I think, using that first year to kind of get my feet wet as a head coach, for anybody that's in it for the first time, it's, your head's really spinning. You feel like there's a million things you want to do.
Yeah.
You want to do them all at the same time, and you don't have time to do any of them. And at the same time, it's, it takes time to really transition not only a group of kids, but a group of coaches and just a community into new ways of doing things. Everybody does things differently regardless of the coach you are, regardless of how you do them. So I think, getting everybody on the same page, but also for me, learning – simple stuff like how to organize a program, what really takes importance. For me, it was a big deal. I've been an offensive coordinator my whole career, never really worked on the defensive side of the ball. I was really learning the importance of playing well on defense and learning the importance of how to shift your personnel so that you're really solid on both sides of the football. So for me, I'm really happy for the experience to have learned. I think I'm happy for a lot of the patience that's been shown for our program about how it can grow, and more importantly, that our kids have really bought in. After having a tough year in your first year, I think it would be easy for kids and coaches to doubt kind of what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I think our kids went the opposite way. They bought in 100%. We really work hard. I think, I'm not judging ourselves to other programs, but a lot harder than, and we do a lot more than a lot of programs I've been around. So our kids really embrace the fact that they knew they needed to get a lot better, needed to get a lot stronger, and I think that's going to show for us on the field this year for sure.
Well, and it's great when you mentioned that you go 3-7. It's not we've been a part of some teams. I've been a part of some teams recently that have not had the best of records as well, and the responsiveness of the kids is the most important part. Sure. You guys are as a coach, you're obviously going to show up every day, coach hard. Your other the rest of your coaches are going to do the same thing. It's just it's such a variable as to how the kids are going to respond to that.
For sure, and it's a challenge. Right, when things aren't going in anything in life, when things aren't going as great as can be expected, it's a challenge to continue to work hard and continue to learn from those mistakes. So I think it's a credit to my assistant coaching staff that stayed so positive as that was going on, and then really bought into what we're trying to do. I'm one of those guys that I really take the advice and the 2 cents of the guys I have around me to heart, and I think that they feel very comfortable offering their honest opinion. And I think when you're in a situation like that, it's easy to adjust and move forward when everybody feels confident that not only will their say be heard, but that we're all in it for the right reasons. So I think I really am lucky to have a great coaching staff. We made some adjustments to that staff in the offseason, and I'm really happy to where that's at. And I think the kids just really enjoy being coached by the group that we had. So even when times were a little bit tough, they still enjoyed coming to practice. They still enjoyed getting better. And I think another reason why is because we were so young last year. We graduated basically 3 starters on both sides of the ball combined. So I think that the kids bought in, understand that they knew they needed to get better, but that was a good opportunity to learn and get better and grow towards this season and kind of show what we have this season.
Do you see a noticeable difference? How it was probably a whirlwind for you last year coming in,
sure,
trying to get everything organized. Now you've got your feet settled in a little bit. As far as the students that are there, the community, do you see kind of a transition from last year to this year, and on how things are going into a positive direction?
For sure. I think that, number one, the most important part of coaching is building relationships with the kids. So being able to have really a solid year under my belt, and not just being in the weight room, being in the classroom with kids, being in the building with kids, being in the building with administrators, with the other people that are in the building, all the great teachers we have at Berea-Midpark, allowed me to kind of get a comfort level, and the kids, more importantly, get a comfort level with me. And I think when you have a great relationship with anybody that you work with, and a lot of times football, it's a lot of work, you're more willing to put the extra time in. You're more willing to go when it's tough. You're more willing to work through some uncomfortableness because you like that person, because you want to work with them, or worst case, because you respect them and know that they're there for your best interest. So I think building that relationship was huge. And the difference with our kids, just I think with their compete level this year is so different. We had so many kids that was their first time really being a part of a varsity program and then being asked to play. We started 4 freshmen at times last year. We started 8 sophomores in games. And those kids are finally learning what it's like to truly work and to compete and to understand that it's a good thing to really want something and want to take it from other people. And so I feel really good about where our team's at right now.
Go ahead, Ed.
You know, I was we talk about this a lot with pro head coaches. It's the same here. I mean, now that you have another year, you have your second year into the system. You know, there's more familiarity with what you're already teaching.
For sure.
I guess be able to go into, for lack of a better term, more quote unquote graduate level stuff with what you want to do on the offensive end, because now the basics have kind of been the foundation's been set.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. That's an excellent point, Ed. That we have most of our guys return on offense, and a lot of return on defense too. The positive and the negative of having a great offseason is really now you have to look at every kid as if they're a brand new kid. You know, it's really tough in some ways to build on what boys did last year, because they've worked so hard we got after December 1. So for 8 months, they've been grinding in the weight room and conditioning. I mean, in a really good way. They're almost completely different athletes in regards to being much better. And some kids that weren't physically ready to compete last year now are, and you really have to take a good hard look at everybody and see who the best 22, the best 33, the best 11 are for your program. So it's really cool and exciting. You know, after having the last 7 months of busting our butts in a weight room, it's almost like being a kid at Christmas. You get to open up those presents and kind of see what those kids are like now that they've grown up. I mean, especially when they were so young. They've matured so much as young men and then matured so much physically that you're like, wow, I mean, that kid could really help us now. Last year he wasn't ready to help us. He can really help us. So it's cool to have that competitiveness on the field. Even though we had 18 kids that got solid varsity time last year, there's a good chance, 4 or 5 of those kids might not play compared to other kids that really worked hard in the offseason to get better. So there's positives and negatives go by that. Some of that experience is good, especially offensively, because we're really – I think the kids feel very confident in what we did offensively last year. But at the same time, I mean, a lot of kids are opening their eyes right now to say, wow, that kid might be better than that kid who played last year, because that kid got a little complacent. I was a starter. I expect to be a star. The other kid grinded up and, might be a player for us now. So that's the fun thing we're going through right now, but also the challenge. But I think it leads our practices to be a lot more lively because all the boys on our team know that basically every spot's open to compete for.
Now, how tough was it last year as your first year as head coach to let the assistants do their job and not really overstep and get involved in every little piece and kind of let them do their thing? I mean, was that tough for you in your first year, or do you feel like, I got to oversee certain things? It's your first year, so you want to have it a certain way.
It's tough. You're right. It's tough to not do everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, I think, one of the I don't want to say a stumbling block for me, but definitely mentally something I needed to go through. I'm very nitpicky on what we do on offense. I mean, I've been running similar stuff on offense for the last 6-7 years. I mean, going back to when we started running what we do now at St. Ed's, I was extremely nitpicky and was very tough for me to let go of the reins with a lot of our coaches. Basically trusted 1 or 2 guys, and that was it. And so it's been a little bit, I don't want to say a struggle, but it's taken time. I think that's one of my strengths, that I do really trust the guys, that I really take my time in deciding who should coach with me, because I want to give them that, and that's something that I'm lucky that, my wife's a human resource girl, and so she's constantly on me about, the fact that you have to delegate. You're going to drive yourself crazy if you don't delegate, and why did you hire these great guys and not let them do their job? And so I think I'm doing a lot better job of that this year. I think one of the huge benefits, we got our defensive coordinator very late in the process last year, so I feel like he was really scrambling and didn't really have the support he needed from me last year to be effective on that side of the ball. The nice thing is now he has this whole year offseason, again, him building these relationships and being able to coach the guys up, maybe on the mental side of the game as is going on. And I think that, Mike Cook is our defensive coordinator. He's done an awesome job. The guys that we've kind of had on our defensive staff and added to our defensive staff, Matt Wilson, George White, Greg Hanchuk, Dan McWilliams, these guys that we got now on the defensive side of the ball are really great coaches. And our defense, I think, is night and day with regards to the intensity our kids are bringing, which is really fun for me. I'm a guy that likes to talk a lot of mess at practice. I like to really compete with the defensive coaches. And I think now our defensive guys are confident, and the personalities we have is they really push back. Today's practice was phenomenal. The fact our defense really got the better of our offense, and we're really in our face about it. And that's always a struggle for me, being an offensive guy. I get really fired up, defense has a good practice, but then I got to take a step back and be like,
Come on,
that's a really good thing. That's a really good thing, John, that our defense is kicking butt right now. That's a really good thing.
Yeah.
So, it's been really fun to see that competitiveness come out of the defensive side of the ball. Have some defensive coaches get at me. Like, I love that. Like, I want to compete. I want those guys. I want the defensive kids to compete, and that's been awesome. I mean, really, I think our coaches are really settling in. I think our kids really love our coaches, and I'm really lucky to have the staff I have, and I think really that we're going to see some really good things from the program based on that type of stuff.
And we're going to see a little bit of a sneak peek of that here in a couple of weeks, if I'm understand, at passing scrimmage, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we'll it's 17th. The 17th we'll have Brunswick at our place, and then the 19th we'll have Holy Name at our place. So yeah, that'll be pretty cool. So we're looking forward to that. It's always good to get some good competition, and it'll be a lot of fun. So
who's your who do you have for your live scrimmage?
We'll scrimmage. We open up with like a 3-team jamboree. We'll do that'll be the second week of 2-a-days. That Tuesday we'll go to Kenston. It'll be Menor, Kenston, and Sandusky Perkins, and that's a really good one for us. I mean, Menor so does Kenston. I'm really good friends with the Kenston head coach Jeff Grubich. Played college football with him, and so he kind of brought me onto that scrimmage, and it's really good to see. A team like Menor does an excellent job with their program 7 through 12. Coach Triv does a great job over there. So, that's, a program to model ourselves after. Not that we want to be exactly the same as anybody. We want to do our own thing, but kind of the positives they brought to that community. The fact that a lot of those kids stay in that program and work hard for them, and they've been successful against the bigger programs in the state. To my chagrin, when I was coaching at St. Anne's, a couple of times, which is, again, hats off to them. Great job. And, it's a good measuring stick for us. We got a long way to go, I think, to be mentioning those same phrases, but we're well on our way. I think people are going to see a phenomenal jump in our program from year 1 to year 2, and that has less to do with me and more to do with our kids and our assistant coaches really, really grinding hard on that with that stuff. And then our second scrimmage, we'll go to Massillon, Washington, and scrimmage there at Paul Brown, which will be a cool experience for our kids. Great facility, great coaching staff that I was lucky to be a part of for a year. And then our preview will be Elyria at our place. Again, a great program. They got a new head coach. So it'll be fun to see what they're going to bring to the table. So all in preparation for August 25th against Strongsville at home. So that'll be, which I think will be a great rivalry. I think it'll be a great rivalry for us. So
we're going to rekindle the old Pioneer Conference there.
There you go. Throwback game.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's always a good thing.
It's going to be a great game. Yeah, Strongsville has a new head coach as well. So, they're getting back at it there. But with the Southwestern Conference, what did you learn last year with, say, Mike Elder and Avon? They're always there, Midview, and some of those coaches and teams in the Southwestern Conference.
I think they've done a really good job of tapping into their youth level and kind of building from there. That's something that I think is when you look at comparing, like, private schools, which I've been a part of, in the public schools, really tapping into that 7th and 8th grade level is the key to building a successful program. And I'm very blessed to have really, really good 7th and 8th grade staff that work really, really hard, and also to have great youth growing up. We have a great league in the Brook Park League. We have a great league with the Lou Groza League, so we have great feeder programs for that. But I think really trying to build that unity of purpose, a shared vision from 7 through 12. Part of the thing I'm lucky to have in our district is I'm in charge of 7 through 12 football. So 7 through 12, the whole thing runs through me. So building that unified approach, our 7th and 8th graders get in the weight room with our varsity kids. They work out, and we get buses that bus our kids from the junior high there. We get a great group that comes and works extremely hard, and I'm really excited about the future. I'm excited about where we're at, but I think really tapping in that youth is something that those two programs specifically, and even Olmsted Falls does a nice job of tapping into their youth program, kind of building it from there. So not only that, but they really, the one thing that I like about those programs and why it's exciting to go against is they really believe in what they do. Offensively, defensively, and just from a program perspective. And that's something that I'm learning as I go along, to have a very specific vision for the kids. Use a very specific terminology for what you're asking them to do, not only as football players, but as people. Hey, this is our expectations are. We're going to keep to this from 7th grade through 12th grade, and I think that's where we're getting to. I really think that year of being able to build those relationships and building a coaching staff into a unit has allowed us to kind of take a good jump. I think there's a lot of building still to do, but we're lucky to have great coaches and good players that we get it going, and a very supportive administration there. I mean, I think that's the thing too, is that they really want to be successful in athletics. Our AD Adam Howard really wants to be successful. I think everybody there wants to be successful, and that sets the stage for us doing things a lot differently there than it's done in the past, which as anywhere gets pushed back.
Yeah,
but is going to set the stage for success, hopefully.
I know you got a lot of young players coming back from the team, and I know you don't like to single out any individuals, but every team's got to have have a few key players that you're looking to rely upon and show some leadership. So, at Berea-Midpark, what are some of those players that you're really looking to maybe extend to the other players, a sense of leadership, and how you're doing things for the program?
I know that's a good question. I think that with any program, regardless of what you're doing, you got that top 10 to 20%. Then you get that 80 to 70%. Then you got that bottom 10, and that 20% is really what, like you're talking about, you lean on to pull that other 70, 80 with you. And I would start with our all-conference players that returned from last year. Trevor Bazinski, our quarterback, is going to be a great football player for us. He's a big, strong kid, 6'5", 225 pounds. He's got a nice arm, really coachable, really good head for the game, and is a competitor. I mean, he wants to win, and that's, I think a key point with any guy you have running the show back there, but especially what we do on our offense is we expect a lot, makes a lot of decisions on every play. So I think he'll really be the engine that our offense runs around. Along with that, his twin brother, Jared, plays left tackle for us. He'll be a sophomore. He's an all-conference player at left tackle for us. Our leading receiver from last year, Reed Perry, who had 56 catches last year, will return. So, offensively, those are three guys we would really lean on to be successful. Our center, Phil Hunt, excellent player, returner from last year. And then on the defensive side of things, we have a group of kids I think are really emerging that played for us well last year. Steven Yerke will be a returner that we moved from D-line to linebacker. That ended up being a great player for us. Bryce Agnew, who will be our tailback, one of our tailbacks / linebacker. Anthony Miller, same deal, tailback / linebacker. I think our tailback situation will be more of a tailback by committee. Tyrese Holland was a great player for us last year. I think he had about 1,500 yards.
He was
1,600 yards.
He was a beast
for us
last year.
And I think we have that in us to replace just a lot of those boys. Jabril Williams, another kid there, that play both sides of the ball for us. They're going to have to contribute for us on defense for us to be good on defense. So we have more running back by committee because those kids are all really good. You'd hate to not share the ball and have a guy 100% when he's carrying the rock. So I think it'll be more of a running back by committee. Matt Gorman's a defensive end, returner, be a really good player. Trent Evans, returner, really good player. And like you said, it's tough to single guys out because, positive, I think there's a positive not having a guy that's like a game-breaking defensive player. I can honestly not say that right now. Hopefully they'll emerge, but we don't have a guy that says that, hey, that guy's just going to be a Joey Bocci type of player that played for Berea-Midpark. That dude is a Division I. You got to find that guy in every play on offense. The positive of that is we got to be a really good 11-man unit on defense to be good. I see a lot of positives to that. Every kid's as valuable as the next, and so. And if you have a group of, say, 15 to 16 that are in that mix, you're fresh. Guys can run to the football. Guys can play fast. And I think that's what we're hanging our head on defensively is working as a unit. I like that a lot. Our kids offensively always hear me say that, we score touchdowns as a unit. Because football is the ultimate team game. It's great that Trevor's a great quarterback. But if our offensive line stinks, he's not going to be any good.
Yeah.
If our wideouts aren't good, he's not going to be any good. So
just to ask every Browns quarterback the past
absolutely
20 years.
Absolutely, right? So it's very tough to evaluate a quarterback if your line's not good.
Right.
Same thing with the wideouts, and same thing with the wideouts if the quarterback's not good. So, I think if we play as a unit, play as a team, and kind of trust each other, we could be really good. And so, is there guys that are going to step up? I'm excited to see who those guys are. But I'm also excited about the fact that in order for us to be good, we need to do it together.
Right.
That's a really cool thing, I think.
Yeah, on the defensive end, too, specifically on defense. I play defense, and you can't, when it is 11 as one in that respect, and when you can't rely on that one guy who's just going to train wreck everybody, it also raises everyone else's level of awareness and keeps that intensity up on everyone else's end because you're not going to sit there and be like, you know what, he's got it. I don't have to worry about this side of the ball because that it instills that confidence and that also need that, hey, I need to be on my game every single play, because if I let if my 1/11th of the play goes down, the whole thing could go down with it, because I don't have someone to cover for me.
Can't be the weak link in the chain.
No, you're as strong as your weakest link.
And I think that it makes everybody feel invested. If kids are invested, they're going to play. They're going to raise their level for each other. And if they know they're just as valuable as another guy, it's tough. I mean, I played football for a long time, played other sports like a lot of you guys. If you know that everybody's just looking to one guy to make a play, it's human nature to not
take
go
a
as
play
hard.
off.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And that's. I think that's the nice thing about not having a guy like Tyrese this year, even though I'd love to have him back.
Well, right.
But it's, the nice thing about not having a guy like that where you say, hey, this kid's going to carry the ball 35 times. He's going to make 2 or 3 guys miss, or he's going to truck a guy. I mean, now everybody understands that, hey, I need to execute for us to be effective.
Yeah.
And it leads kids to raise their game, I think. And they know that they know that we trust them or we wouldn't put them on the field. And so I think that trust goes both ways and leads kids to do great things. So I'm excited for that.
When you look at your team last year offensively, from the start of the season to the end, did you see a big-time growth, even in Trevor Bazinski? He's only a sophomore that, maybe didn't know a ton about your offense to start the season and then grew as the season went. What did you see from your perspective on offense? Because you guys put up a lot of points from your quarterback, your offensive line, receivers. From the start of the season to the end, what's one thing that you were really impressed with or that you wish they would have done more of?
Well, I think that, being a little more efficient obviously would be a big deal. One of the things that we kind of looked at in researching as coaching staff is that, we need to be better on short yardage stuff. That's where we struggle. I think it's the nature of the beast when you run a spread up tempo offense. But at the same time, we need to be better on and short situations, keep drives going, not give our defense a tough time of, hey, not converting. Next thing you know, they're right back on the field. I think that, offense and defense, now that I'm learning this as a head coach, goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
One hand washes the other, so you got to make sure you're protecting both sides of the ball with what you're doing. So that and short yardage, but I think that was the nature of, honestly, we were young and we were weak. I mean, a lot of our kids just weren't very strong. I think we've answered kind of that weakness thing. From a growth perspective, it really is nice to go into like we went to Ohio Dominican for team camp, spent 3 days there, practiced 3 times a day for 3 days, we're there overnight and stuff. It sure was nice to go in and have every coach know what we're doing on offense and not be having to coach coaches up. And it sure was nice to have a kid like Trevor or other kids able to coach up the younger kids that were there. Hey, no, this is how coach wants it. And that leadership that grows because of that. When you have to teach something, heck, I learned this when I was a teacher and I teach classes that I had no idea about. I mean, I teach economics this year.
Yeah.
Believe me, I'm not a money person. My wife handles all our finances. But you sure learn about something when you have to teach it to somebody else.
Yeah.
So the ability for our kids to have to know enough to have to teach, I think, reinforces to them what their expectations are. So being able to do that, huge jumps right out to me. And then that's huge with our offense.
Yeah.
And that allows me to give the quarterback more freedom, give Trevor more freedom into what we do, not be so much of a hovering type of guy, and allows our receivers to give more feedback. Hey, I really like this. Okay, well, you know what you're talking about now. I'm more likely to call that play. I'm more likely to rep that route more. I'm more likely to know what you feel comfortable at. Or when everything's new, you're like, well, that looks like crap. Well, yeah, it's because you don't know what the hell you're doing. This year it's like it looks like crap. Well, maybe it looks like crap because that's just not good stuff for our kids.
Yeah.
It's easier to throw stuff out and to hold on to stuff. I mean, we're learning that real quick that, hey, this looks really good with our kids. Our kids feel real comfortable. Let's rep the heck out of that. I mean, really, at the end of the day, how many different concepts, meaning how many different plays, are you actually running in a game?
Yeah.
The games we've been most efficient, when I look back, hey, you're running like 6 or 7 true plays, maybe different formations. We're running 6 or 7 plays on offense because that's what the kids are really good at.
Yeah.
So if you could eliminate that earlier and rep the stuff you're really good at and work on the nuances, that's good stuff. I mean, it leads you to be real efficient. And so I think we've gotten a leg up on that, which is nice.
Now, what about some of the younger kids? Do you have any younger kids that you think could have an impact on your team this year?
Oh, for sure. I think Jabril Williams, who was a freshman last year that got time on varsity, but is in a couple different spots than he was last year, is super athletic kid, pound for pound, probably the strongest kid on our team. And as a freshman, was kind of swimming a little bit with the expectation of playing some varsity football. We were in such a unique situation last year with having such a small senior class because of a lot of different factors that, we brought up some – so like I said, we started 4 freshmen in one game. on the varsity level. And so, and a lot of sophomores that I think that these kids, they were swimming. It's hard. It's hard to jump to be a freshman playing Friday nights,
especially in the
especially
in the league that you play in.
It's a lot to ask. Especially with the offense being completely new, the defense being completely new. I mean, in the future, that may be a little more acceptable. Hopefully, we won't have to do that.
Yeah.
But hey, if you were a seventh grader last year and you've been running the same offense for 2 to 3 years with the same terminology, maybe you can make that jump if you're a stud athlete. But when you're just learning a new offense, it's a brand new defense, and we're expecting you to contribute on both sides of the ball, it's maybe too much to ask from a kid. So he's going to have, I think, a huge year for us this year, really be an exceptional player. I spoke about Bryce Agnew.
Yeah.
Anthony Miller. Those are two guys that will play, I think, on both sides of the ball, linebacker and tailback, that got some time last year, started here and there on the defensive side of the ball, but didn't really on offense. That look really good on offense because they know what's going on. I mean, it's not like you're asking them to learn something and also show us what you got. It's a hard situation for a kid. If you're thinking, you're not playing fast.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Think about
those
where
are two
supposed
kids.
to be.
I mean, there's a couple kids young on the offensive line that we're going to see what they can do. So that'll be nice. And then defensively, there's going to be a lot of moving parts and a lot of guys in positions they haven't played last year, because we needed to change a few things there. But I think guys that are really going to show kind of what they can do. A kid like a Larry Ton at corner is really, really good for us right now. C.J. Lyons that we moved around a little bit, but is really showing some signs it could be good. We definitely have guys that last year were young that this year I think are really going to stand out for us.
Now, how are the kids that are playing two positions? Are they picking up offense and defense, or is that something that you might say, well, maybe you should just play one position and focus on that one position, and maybe they'd be better off learning and understanding a little more?
And, that's the approach we took last year.
Yeah.
Is that, hey, we're going to platoon, we're going to play guys on either side of the ball or the other because everything's brand new, and we want you to be able to learn and be good at something. And looking back at it, I think maybe I did some of our kids a disservice to just be maybe a little better as a team, because some players that maybe should have been getting time both ways didn't, because I was more focused on them learning one side of the ball or the other. I think it's paid dividends for us offensively, but as we adapt our defense and maybe do some different stuff with our personnel, if we have a good feel of who our kids are, it makes it a little more of a challenge for them to learn the new stuff. But I do think that it allows us to maybe have a little bit more focus on our kids learning the defense because they're so comfortable with the offense, which is a positive. Hey, if you're a two-way guy and you're just learning to play defense, maybe focus a little more in the film room, focus a little more meetings on defense, because I'm not going to say I know what you're doing. I mean, at the end of the day, we were a 3-7 football team last year, and there were some games where we really struggled offensively. But at the same time, you can say at least you know the gist right now with it being so early, really day 5 of practice. Focus on that side of the ball because we think that's really where you're going to contribute. So I think that helps. Already knowing the offense for some of those guys that played a lot of offense last year to contribute on defense.
Have you noticed an uptick in participation in your camp? Like, have there been players that weren't playing football last year that maybe you raided the hallways and been like, hey, we got a good thing going here, you should come out? Have you noticed that?
I think a little bit. I think the kids that get to know me, kind of it's good, bad, and different. I think I'm a lot different than the previous guys they've had, even growing up, and so I think that helps bring kids in because it's just a new, fresh face, and they get to know me as a person. I think that helps, and know that our other coaches are really good guys. But I think there was a give and take that this year. I mean, we really raised expectations in the offseason. It did a lot more than they've ever done before. A lot more. Almost double, triple what they've done in the past. And so it was a give and take there. I think early, we had a huge uptake in kids. Maybe, at times a huge number in our offseason, but then it's got to be a challenge for us to be any good. You can't say, hey, great, we had all these kids, now let me coddle them and just be good guy. And not that there's different approaches for different kids, but just say, hey, we want you to be here. Oh, you're a little winded when we're conditioning. Yeah, it's okay, just take a break. There's a pleasant median in there. Yep. I mean, I want our program to grow and I want more kids, but I want the right kids too.
Right.
If a kid's willing to put the time in and to grind, heck yeah, I want that kid. But if a kid's going to be there and not give a full effort, not be willing to be uncomfortable because that's where you improve, do we really want that kid around? Not that he's a bad person, but maybe this just isn't right for him. And that's not a knock. I mean, we'll have 15 to 20 kids more than we had in our varsity last year, which is a nice uptake. But, I mean, we could have had 40 more kids if the approach would have been, let's take it easy. Let's do things like they've always done here in the past and not raise our expectations. So 20 is a good get. Let's put it that way. But there were, 30 to 40 where a lot of those kids dropped off when they saw the challenges that they are. But if you want to be any good, you got to push the kids to greatness. So it's a tough challenge. To walk that tightrope.
That's a good way. It's a good way to find out who they are, though.
For sure.
And you do need to do that weeding out process, for lack of a better term.
I'd rather find out in March or April if a kid can cut it or not than August 25th when we're playing Strongsville and maybe take it easy on a kid instead of pushing them, again, within reason, and say, oh, man, it's the fourth quarter and he's tapping out. I wish I would have known that 4 months ago. I don't want to say it would have been wasted time, but I wouldn't have spent that much time with that kid.
Yeah.
Right.
I find out all of a sudden that this other kid's not tapping out. We had him as a number 2, where he would have been the one guy the whole time, had that kid.
Yeah.
It's an equal relationship between coach and player. You're going to push, but they got to push back or push forward as equal to you. And you'll know right off the bat if it's not it. And like you said, you got a lot of time with every kid there, so time is valuable. You can't quote-unquote waste time if someone doesn't want to push it. I get it.
You need numbers in the program if you want the program to grow.
Yeah.
But you need those to be useful numbers, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
Not to devalue a kid as a human being, but you need useful players. The more kids you are, the stronger you are if all those kids work hard. You don't want kids in the program that are pulling the program down.
Gotcha.
Understandable. Guys, any last thoughts for Coach Hunek before we let him go into the sunset? Hey,
awesome.
Thanks for coming,
Thanks
Coach.
for
It was
coming
great
on.
talking to you.
I appreciate it.
We wish you nothing but the best
Thank
of
you
luck
very
in this
much.
upcoming season, and we'll look forward to covering your Titans this
Awesome.
year.
Yeah, we'll look.
Sounds great,
Probably look September. We'll be at one of the Berea-Midpark games.
Good
We're
stuff.
already looking at the schedule. So
Good stuff.
Yep. It's
Be
going to be a fun year.
really happy to have you guys at a game. That'd be awesome.
thanks.
we
Fun last
appreciate
year,
it.
for sure. You guys were good luck, so I gotta get you to all 10.
I think that was-
bribe you guys any way I can to get you.
That was an unbelievable game. That was a high-scoring game, if I remember right, versus North
48,
Ridgeville.
42, maybe
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I have more of those 48 rip games instead.
Coach, thanks for joining us
Thanks for
tonight.
having me, guys. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
That's head coach of the Berea-Midpark Titans, Jon Hunek, joining us on Sports on Tap. We're going to step away, take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little Cavaliers basketball, and they haven't been up to too much so far in this offseason, but the NBA has been pretty busy, so we'll cover that and much more. Coming up, we're Sports on Tap.